Welcome to this series. This is a series called Better Caul Saul, where we discuss what is currently possible, that if it were impossible, or what is currently impossible, that if it were possible, would fundamentally change the way we do business as real estate agents. On today's episode, we will talk about what if the traditional way of getting loans was no more, was completely gone. Here with me today is my co-host, Rachael Real, broker owner of Rachael Real Estate in Chicago. She's been an agent for 18 years. She's been on the Pro Standards Committee for 8 years, currently serving as...
is the immediate past chair. I just gave up my title last week.
Oh, your reign is over.
My reign is over.
She is passionately nerdy about all things real estate and all the rules. And we have...
And today with us is Saul Klein, the godfather of real estate technology. Saul has been licensed to sell real estate for over 47 years. He was an original team member of Realtor.com, the creator of NAR's technology certification program, ePro. Saul was personally responsible for the first 500,000 listings to be displayed to the public on Realtor.com, spearheading listing syndication, which is the distribution of your listings to the consumer over the internet. Welcome, Saul, and let's dive into today's topic.
Yeah, all right, so give us some context. So we're saying the question today is what if current lending practices not only did, what if they went away? Like it was no longer possible to get a regular loan.
Yeah, so again, we try to frame this by asking these two questions: what's currently possible, and if it were impossible, it would fundamentally change your way you do business, and we reverse it. So we were having this conversation about what makes real estate possible. Finance. So what if financing, the way that we currently finance real estate, somehow dents the way you do business or disappears? Now, we're already seeing for a lot of people that even though the current system is in place, that dream is disappearing as interest rates continue to rise.
Right.
And they're up at what level? Rachel, what are you seeing now in your area? 6.5?
They're a little over 6. Yeah. Pushing 7 in some, at some points. Yeah.
And what, a year ago they were 3
or less.
Yeah, right.
And so that's just how many people get pushed out.
Well, all those people that were right at the border of being able to afford anything are plus, halfway there at this point.
Plus overall interest rates have gone up. So the amount of money that is discretionary when you qualify for a loan, they have bigger outlay that they've got. So there's all these things. So for a lot of people, it's gone, the way that you would typically do it traditionally.
But this is an American issue, I think.
Well, it is. Well, yeah, this is kind of, although there's problems around the world, remember that the housing finance system in this country is very unique. And it was created after the war. It's all about saying it's the American dream. It's all about capital being put behind it. It's why is there even money so you can borrow money? It's because there's this great financial system, which is very cumbersome, has a lot of expenses and a lot of costs. It's all set up so that the money can be loaned. It can be then moved into investors' pockets. It's done that through secondary money markets, insurance companies, hedge funds, pension funds, through mortgage-backed securities. They buy these income streams created from people buy. Then you get a tax deduction. So yeah, we're very unique in this country about, and it's paid off, I believe, because a lot of people are able to buy and own a home, and that's
if your end goal is to own the home, which it is, right?
Yeah. So now you go to sell it, and now there's a smaller pool because interest rates are going up because inflation, right? And that's going to continue. Right. So there are going to be people frozen out of the market. There are going to be less people available to buy. And then here's another point that people don't consider, and that is everybody says, well, this isn't going to be like 2008. The reason it's not going to be a recession like 2008 is there's so much equity in the property. Well, the reason there's so much equity in the property is because all of this money was poured into people's pockets. I use the example of 6 oranges up at the grocery store, right? So there's 6 oranges up at the grocery store. Now, all of a sudden, the government dumps another $1 trillion of purchasing power into the economy, but there's still only 6 oranges at the grocery store. So if everybody has more dollars in their pocket, but there's still only 6 oranges at the grocery store, the price of the 6 oranges is going to go up, right? And so that's what happens. So we've got this, what people say is not even natural, 20% increases in values, and that's the equity you're banking on. That equity is probably false to a degree, and you're going to see maybe in some cases markets go upside down, and with the interest rates going up, that freezes people out of the market. And then the loans are so expensive. You've got entities, we've talked about this before, the Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, trying to streamline this process. At some point here, the need for the people that I think are in greatest jeopardy of all, but nobody talks about it, are mortgage loan officers. Okay. So realtors are in jeopardy for sure, based on what's happening. But people don't talk about the mortgage loan industry and how costly loans are. And so if there are more effective and efficient ways to do it, the old way goes away, or at least is diminished. And so I'm thinking it's time to start looking at what we used to call creative finance.
Because people, like, when you have to figure out, and if you're a lender, you have to, or if you're an agent, you're helping buyers, and you're a seller's rep, you've got to figure out a different way to transfer the ownership of the house into somebody else's hands, right?
And to make sure that you're compensated for it. And so where does the finance come from to allow that? Well, in the last 12 years, it's come from one source for almost every property. Rachel, when's the last time you heard of somebody carrying a second?
Yeah, I don't know.
10 years, 15
I'd have to
years,
go
20,
I have to go way back in the vault for that one. Right.
But that was as common years ago as not having them today. And so
exactly.
Right. So especially if you see where sellers think their house is worth more and the buyer doesn't want to pay it because So one way is you get the seller to carry that portion.
Right.
And then you would caveat, I'm sure, Rachel. Yeah, and it's all that makes sense, but make sure you talk to your broker before you do something like this.
Right. Exactly.
And I'd say just go for it. It'll be fine. This is like bringing up so many thoughts as you're talking, Saul, because it's like our houses, the first one you talked about, and maybe there's some houses that's a false equity in homes. So then are they going to go below? But they're really only going below because of our current lending standards and how you don't really need to put that much money down, because going below means what you could sell it for is less than what is owed, right? But what is owed has so much to do with not only what you put down, but did you take out, like, did you use it as an ATM? And we have like, we keep doing that all the time. So all of that, what you put down or whatever has to change, right?
Well, both for sure. We talked about some alternatives to that, but just think about this. How many times were we hearing that there were offers were $50,000 over?
Right, it's all this cash.
Okay, well, so then it sold for that. Guess what people were then saying that property was worth?
50.
Well, they would say 50 was the sale price. But we know it's not.
It's not.
Right? So
we know it's not. Right.
It's a blank. Equity. That was a blank check. That was a check to the seller that had nothing to do with the value. It absolutely was not.
But don't you think somebody would use that as a comp? I mean, right? Because they're looking. This is what stuff is selling for. And
right. We're using them as comparables.
Sure.
I think when you're looking at them as comparables, though, you're looking at the time frame in which they went under contract.
So that's
right.
That's what
I feel like we almost need to have some indication of that in an MLS when you close out a property appraised for this, buyer paid X over.
Well, we have
because I do think there's something that's
like on ours, we have to put in where the concessions, closing the concessions.
Right, right. And that would be concessions, but this is a difference between appraisal and contract price. I don't think that falls under the category of a concession.
Sure, it does.
I haven't seen any concessions that have been, $30, $50, $75,000 though. I don't think they're being reported. They're not being reported
that way, but they are.
Well, so once it closes,
and think about it, it's not a seller concession. That's the buyer paying the seller more. It's not the seller giving the buyer
Yeah,
concession.
so it ends up
no field for that.
So at the county recorder's office, the sale price is more than actually the property was worth, but it's not caveated in any way.
No,
right? And I feel like it should be.
Not only are there MLSs that have that data, but that county recorder data all over the country is sucked up by all these data companies, and it's used to create AVMs?
AVMs, right.
And so the AVMs, they're misjudging the risk. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised. That's what they use because they don't have access to MLS data. So because once it's public, you go to the county recorder and say, yeah, but there were 16 bids, and this one, the one that was taken, didn't tell you that.
There's no explanation.
Yeah, but there's so many. There's so many. Like AVMs always misjudge they would always misjudge the risk because they don't have the right data. Like you could have two houses and they're exactly the same, but I mean, renovated, like whatever, exactly the same, but one smells like cat piss.
No question, but to a much greater degree than ever before. And now let's go back to our
because of the volume.
Hi guys, Monica Weekly here. You know how you're supposed to post about real estate every single day on Facebook? Yes, you do. And the reason is if we don't remind our Facebook friends what we do for a living and how we help people, they will forget about it. We know it's our job to inform, educate, and demonstrate what we do for a living. Well, I'm coaching agents all around the country, and they understand that, but they're not doing it. And I ask them, why aren't you doing it? Probably just like you. And they said, Monica, we don't know what to post. Can we just borrow your stuff? Because I love creating Facebook posts. And these can often be used over on Instagram as well. So I said yes, and people were borrowing my stuff. So I created finally a product that you can sign up for free. It is free, guys. There is no reason for you not to sign up for this. It's ghostposter.com, GHOSTPOSTR, no E in there, just TR.com. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a Facebook posting idea to your email every single day. So not only do you have this great idea, but you've been reminded, oh yeah, I need to post. And that's Monday through Friday. And if you don't love the post or you think, gosh, I'd like something else, well, you're also going to get access to a library of over 600 different posts for you to choose from by category. You're going to love it. Go sign up, ghostposter.com. Don't waste a minute. And then be sure to join the private Facebook group. All right, I'll see you in there.
Because of the volume?
Because of the and because they're being bought and they're purchased, and that's what provides the capital to the market.
And because of the investor buyers are buying for a long-term hold.
There's a lot of factors, right?
Yeah.
So there's this misplaced risk that takes place. And so because people are buying those, and so you got this issue. So when people say that the real estate market can't collapse, when people say that you can't have defaults and because people have too much equity, that's an illusion.
It is, right.
And we know just the mechanics of it, the way it works, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing, so we were headed into a conversation about being creative, and it brought to mind our initial basic problem of over 85% of our industry turns over as real estate agents. We turn over every 3 years. There's no room for intelligent. There's no, like, part of intelligence is also experience and time on task, right? And there's no room for that, which creates a giant gap and problem for our consumers. Sorry, my
when you have 15% of the realtor population or real estate broker population that is knowledgeable and has experience and background to be able to help a client with something like alternative financing.
Right.
And you have 15% of us that are capable of it, and 85% have been on the market for, 5 minutes to 2.5 years, or let their license lapse after the first 2 years. Right. That's really tough, because you're saying now the entire population has to find that 15% agent.
Well, it's not even, it's less than that, because you have this whole other that never turn over, but also never sell.
Very true.
Well, so again, this is not a new
and then
thing.
You take out the number of people who don't bother to learn and keep up with things. Now you're down to maybe 3%
I feel
of
personally attacked.
No, but we've talked about this too. This is not new. This is the way it's always been. And the culprits are work for free, work for free, work for free, work for free, close the deal, the compensation structure, and the independent contractor aspect of it. And this is a positive. It allows anybody to get into business. When we say, well, we love it because it lets anybody get in the business, and we say,
but then
hey,
the third part of the problem is the barrier.
We're not good enough.
The barrier to entry, right? The barrier to entry is so low that anybody and their brother is going to do it because they can.
And
doesn't mean that they care.
What saying is it's right. What was our question? I forgot our question.
Well, the question was, what would you do if the financing, the way that we finance today was no longer possible? And so as we see a change in the mortgage market, and we see a change in real estate and the way it's practiced, and the stuff's going to change dramatically over the next couple of years, it's important for people who do sell for that 15% or people that want to be in that 15% to know how to, and this is old news, how to differentiate themselves from the competition. And one way to differentiate yourself from the competition is to understand finance, understand financing, be able to explain to people why maybe old alternatives are not available to them today, and what alternatives might, and to the seller why they might not be able to get what they want, but maybe if they could structure financing in a creative way, they could. Now, I hate to say this because we're all into this positivity stuff, right? And we can't say anything that's negative, but I don't think this is
Don't
negative.
bully us.
No, it's real. There's a difference between negativity and being realistic.
Yeah,
we're dealing with what we got handed to us.
I sold an apartment building many years ago where there wasn't enough money to pay me a commission.
Okay.
But I wasn't going to sell it for free. So I structured the deal so that instead of the seller carrying a second, I carry the second for the commission. The seller,
a lot of risk in carrying the second.
Well, there is. I'm just telling you what you got to do, and you got to be creative. Well, so we'll get into.
Would a bank even allow that at this point?
We can talk about the risk, huh?
Would a bank, a traditional mortgage lender, even allow that at this point?
Yeah. Well, this was a loan assumption. It was a subject to loan takeover, where the buyer came in, took over the loans. Let's make up some numbers. It was $100,000 property, and let's say had an $60,000 loan. $70,000, give you $30,000 in equity.
Okay.
So I had a $20,000 commission. They couldn't pay me because the seller wanted to pull equity out. So I just took the second position, and the seller took the third position. And then we actually sold my loan to somebody who bought loans. And the seller then ended up holding a third, but it was a long-term hold, and eventually the seller got their money out.
I think we're going to run into problems, though. I agree with creative financing. I mean, I've done a handful of owner financing for myself and done rent to owns and things like that. But where you're going to get the rub from real estate agents is the risk associated, and then also their brokers being like them not being their own broker. So you also have to deal with
But so that's why real estate's a great business. Anybody can get into it. Anybody can get a broker's license. You can do what you want. And so, yeah, you're right. There are people that don't understand it. That aren't going to do it. Guess what? It's a way to differentiate yourself from the competition. If you know what you're doing, there's no more risk in doing that than selling a piece of real estate where somebody can come back and sue you later for something in it, right? No more risk. It's the same. But you have to be confident that you can do it. You have to study. There are different things you can do and you can't do. And the most basic one is to understand how carrying a second actually works. And part of the risk is, what if there's a default, right? I think you were alluding to that. How do you cure a default? Yeah, but you can learn how to do that, right? And
but in that example, let's see if we can think of some other creative ways, because I think there's value in this example, right? So like there was basically you were owed $20,000. How could you structure it? One, you could take a second. Okay. Two, you could take you develop a note where you take a portion of the rents over time, or some type of portion over time, right? What else could we do creatively to make that work?
Well, you could, anything that cash flows.
That's right.
Anything that cash flows, you could kind of create that. Now, again, this was interesting that what we did here. I wanted cash, so I would normally carry a third as a broker, but I wasn't going to do that because I have to take a greater discount to sell. And so I had the seller, so I swapped with the seller. He's willing to do it. And I actually got paid like an 8% commission, right? Because
what were you charging?
Huh?
What were you originally charging?
Was like, well, I have no price fixing, but typically you charge 5 or 6% to sell an apartment building. This is an apartment.
But you got 8. So you were charging. I got 8. You were charging 6, but you got 8. Okay.
I negotiated for 8 because the seller knew that I was going to have to discount the note to sell it, get my cash out. So the amount of premium that I got was to cover the discount I would suffer when I sold the note in the second.
But that's how it always works, right? This is exactly how, a credit card is similar. Like, I'll give you the money now, but I want you to pay me more if we're gonna make arrangements. This is how hard money works. This is how it always works.
There's a cost to the money.
There's a cost to the money
Right.
because there's an opportunity cost to the money. So
Yeah,
what is
so-
that opportunity cost? This is an interesting topic. It also means that you're going to have to learn math.
Lesson three, math and land. 43,560, 208.71 by 208.71,
Oh my God.
640 acres. Right, yeah, math and land.
So,
Meets
Right.
and bounds, right?
Right,
Yeah.
which we used when we got
Yeah.
our license and then filed it away in the circular file because we've never pulled that out again.
but I do think there's value in being creative with the deal. And the only way to do that is if you fully understand what everybody wants and what everybody needs. There's this old story about, I forget who told me, it might have been you, Saul. And it was like these two ladies are sitting on a park bench and they each had an orange. And they were fighting because they both said that they wanted the orange. But they didn't ask anybody they didn't ask each other questions. So they finally were like, whatever, we'll split the difference and we'll just each keep our own orange. Well, lady number one only wanted the peel. Lady number two just wanted the inside. So had they communicated and figured out what each other wants, they both could have had 100% of what they wanted. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. It's like, how do we as real estate agents, we consider ourselves problem solvers, I believe, but this is like another level. So Saul, how can we get here? How do we get more knowledgeable about this stuff?
Wait, so I used to teach classes on creative financing,
Oh,
but
great.
but what it really is it's basic financing,
Yeah,
looking at a way to apply it,
I love it.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And so things like, well, what is a first mortgage or a first, just definitions? What is a
Right.
second?
Yes.
What does it mean to sell at a discount? What, something as simple, Rachel,
Short it,
is a
yeah.
blanket trustee or a blanket mortgage. We read about it in class. We don't really think about how we
Right.
might use it
Right.
in
Do
a
you
real
have a
estate.
class coming up on that?
No, I haven't taught it in many years.
Time to pull that out and dust it off.
I think we need to take that. We need to take that into an episode.
Nobody,
I love
look at the
it.
last 12 years, nobody would have paid to come to anything like that or
But
even
now they
listen
will.
to it. Why do I need to listen to that?
I love this because it really does differentiate yourself. And it's like you explained, I mean, everything is possible. What goes up will come down. Like, this is life. This is
Right.
rules of physics. Like, this is how it works. So it's a choice that you have to make as an agent. Do I want to be ahead of the curve or do I always want to be following it? I mean, this is what we tell our sellers about pricing. Do you want to follow
Right.
or do you want to be ahead of the curve? So I think they have a
Right.
choice. Well, Saul, if people do want to get into your world and hear your history lessons that you put out, what's the best way?
You can contact me at Saul at bettercallsaul.realtor, Saul at bettercallsaul.realtor. Our website is The Data Advocate, thedataadvocate.com. And we try to every day publish something there that's kind of relevant to what's happening in the industry.
You do. And this is why Rachel and I like to talk to you because you provide so much context. Because I mean, even though Rachel's been in the business almost 20 years, I've been in the business 12, 13 years, and we don't have 40 years of context. So
Exactly.
I'm glad I'm here.
And
Yes.
Rachel, if people want to sign the petition for Saul to teach the class, or
Right.
or they have a referral,
coming to an episode near you. Right.
or they have a referral for you in Chicago, what is the best way?
Best way to reach me is by cell phone at 630-542-8688 or via email at dealwithreal@dealwithreal.com.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, it's Monica here. I am so excited to introduce you to Real Estate Fight Club's newest partnership, Cyberbacker. Cyberbacker is the best in the business for virtual assistants. How do I know this? Because I am a Cyberbacker customer and I love this company. I have my favorite, Frances. She is my Cyberbacker, been with me for over a year. She's amazing. She makes me better. She's eager to help. She's on time. She's disciplined. She's awesome. And this company, Cyberbacker, has figured out the system from the interviewing process to find out what I need, to the interviewing process to interview several Cyberbackers, to the onboarding process, to the training process. Very buttoned up, very awesome. You and I both know it's time for you to leverage. It's time for you to take that step, and Cyberbacker is a really safe, awesome solution. Make sure to mention Fight Club and you will be getting a free gift. All right? Do it. Make the call. See ya.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a podcast.